love me, how you love me. It's amazing. I'm a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. And I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. God Almighty, Lord of glory, you have called me friend. God Almighty, Lord of glory, you have called me friend. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend.
This is what Zechariah 4 verses 10 outlines, that do not despise humble beginnings, or do not despise small beginnings. The small beginnings in life can take us somewhere great, somewhere better in life. This course has really impacted me. It has really woken up the giant in me, and it has made me realize who really am I and what I'm really capable of doing. Is about the toolbox. This idea has really made me appreciate every tool in my toolbox, knowing that every tool in my toolbox must open a door in life. Every tool in my toolbox must take me somewhere someday, or it will help me somewhere someday. It does not matter the size of the tool, it does not matter the kind of the tool in my toolbox, because every tool in my toolbox is as important as any other tool. Because it has made me realize the gift that I could never exercise, and I'm now exercising, and how I strive to change the society we are in, or to change the world we are, is by encouraging people, or by encouraging the society we are in, to appreciate every gift, every skill that I have in life. And my name is Sharon Chelangat. I'm born again. I am a student at Kirinyaga University, and I major in forensic science.
Hi everyone, we are on day number 2, and today I'm going to talk about the power of perspective. You know, perspective is everything. Even when it comes to vision, you need to have a broader perspective. The more your perspective is broader, the more it's going to help you have a broader vision in life. You know, and the bigger, that perspective is, then the greater that vision will be. When you have a narrow perspective, then your vision will be so limited. So when I talk about perspective, what do I mean? Perspective, the definition of perspective from the dictionary means a mental view or outlook of how you perceive something. A mental view or perspective of how you perceive something, because anything you look at, you have a perception of what this thing is. You can describe it based on your perception. So two people can look at the same thing but see two different things altogether. So this is what we're going to look at. So I want to share with you a couple of things, actually 4 things about perspective. And number one is that perspective can change your story. It can transform your life. I want you to know this regardless of your story, your background, what you've been through, the experiences you've had, the downs and the lows and the setbacks. There is another side to your story that you don't know about. That what you see, all the negativity that you see, all the downsides that you see, that's not all to your story. There is another side to your story, and I want you to recognize that. And perspective is what helps you see that there is another side to your story. When you change your perspective, your life will change for the better. In fact, let me ask you this: how do you view yourself? That's a perspective in itself. All right? So the way you view yourself really determines a lot about your life and how you approach life. Having a new perspective of you will give you a new vision in life. It will broaden that vision that you have for your life. You could change your story, and I want you to understand that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, your story, there's another side to your story. And my challenge to you is that you need to pursue, you need to seek to see the other side of your story. Number two is that perspective determines how you use what you have. Let me give you a practical example. Right here, as you can see, I have a hammer. All right? So based on how you perceive this hammer, decides on how you use it. It determines how you use it. You could either see it as a weapon, and if you do, you will use it to fight or to defend yourself or to destroy things. Or you could see it as a tool that you could use to construct things, to build, to use it in a productive way. So what is it that you have, and how do you perceive it? Because how you perceive what you have determines how you use it. Could it be that you don't know the value of what you have? And when you undervalue something, then you misuse it. You know, a true story is told of a gentleman who bought a painting for about $2. You know, that's about 200 shillings. The person who sold that painting did not know the value of that painting. In fact, quite interesting, the guy who bought it, decided to go and find out, and he thought it seemed to be something of value and took it to be appraised, only to realize that it was worth close to $1 million. That's about 100 million Kenya shillings. Can you imagine that somebody had a painting worth almost $1 million, but never knew? They perceived it differently. They perceived it to be of no value, so they chose to sell it at a very cheap price. What is it that you have, and how are you using it? Number 3 is perspective determines the results that you get. This is so important. It determines victory. It determines failure. Your wrong perception could mean that you miss out on your destiny. You could mean that you missed out on opportunities. How you perceive things will determine the results that you get. The story is told of 2 brothers who grew up in an abusive family. The father's an alcoholic. He abused them. They struggled through life. One brother decided, I will never be an alcoholic. I will change my life. I will work hard. I will be a loving husband and a loving father. And he went out and did exactly that. His brother, on the other hand, became bitter, and he became angry, and he harbored bitterness in his life that he couldn't forgive his father, and unfortunately, he ended up being an alcoholic. 2 brothers, same situation, same circumstances, but different results. Why? It was an issue of 2 different perspectives. What perspective do you have as you look at your circumstances and your situation? Number 4 is that perspective turns liabilities into assets. That's what it does. Perspective, it turns liabilities into assets. In other words, it turns stumbling blocks into stepping stones. In life, you will always have stumbling blocks. And the question becomes, are you viewing them as stumbling blocks, or are you going to turn them around and use them as stepping stones to get you to the next level? Every trial that you face in life, in this world, it's not a matter of if you will face trials, it's a matter of when you will face trials. And you can turn trials into testimonies. You can turn tragedies into triumphs, tragedies into triumphs, into victories. It's all a matter of how you look at things. You know, scripture says this in Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good to them that love God. So whatever tragedy, whatever trial, whatever issues that you've been through, perspective sees how it can turn a liability into an asset. So having said that, be careful what you oppose. Be careful, because what seems to come against you, what seems to be coming to work against you, could it be that it's a blessing in disguise? Could it be that in that issue and crisis is a great opportunity for you? Now, number 5, and this is important about perspective, is that information changes perspective. Wow. This is so true. And I want you to understand, anytime you're dealing with a situation and you don't understand it, what you need to do before coming into a conclusion and writing it out, take time to get more information. Has somebody ever done something and you perceived this person in a wrong way and you thought they did something wrong, only to get some information and that put things into perspective? It is the same thing, that if you want to gain a new perspective, then you must gain new information. You know, some of you know the story in the Bible about the 12 spies. They were sent out by Moses to go out and spy the promised land. Now, they all looked at the promised land and they agreed that land is great, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, just as God had said, but they came back with 2 different reports. And all that was based on information. 10 of them said they're giants. That's all they saw. They said they're giants. And compared to us, we're like grasshoppers. But Joshua and Caleb said, we are well able to take up this land because we know the God that we serve. They had different information. And so that information determined how they perceived their situation. Let me say this to you, that the circumstances may be the same, but the information you receive determines how you respond to life. You're faced with the same circumstances in your college as other young people, whether we're talking about unemployment and the challenges and the issues thereof. These are facts and realities. But guess what? So many people dwell on the negative information. But I tell you what, those who are seeking opportunities and finding them are people who are seeking to get new information. So here's in this second part of this lesson for today, is that I want to talk about the half empty and half full perspective. Half empty, half full perspective. This is key. Let me ask you a question. I have a glass right here, and you can see I have some juice. This glass, let me ask you, is it half full or is it half empty? Think about that for a moment. And probably some of you might say, well, it is half full. You're right. And somebody else might say, it is half empty. Guess what? They're right too. Both of you are right. But how you perceive this glass determines the results that you get. And I'll explain this to you. There are people who view life as half empty. They have a half empty perspective. And I'll give you 3 characteristics here to help you identify half-empty perspectives. Number 1, half-empty perspectives focus on what they don't have. In other words, what is lacking. So every time they're talking about, I don't have this, I don't have that. Do you find yourself in such a place where you're talking about, this is what I don't have? They're looking at the half empty and they focus on that. The second thing they do, and I want you to get this, as long as you see the glass as half empty, you will always be discontent with what you have. Let me say that one more time. As long as, and this is number 2, that you see the glass is half empty, you will always be discontent with what you have. Let me say this to you, that sometimes in life, it is not more that you need, but it's about maximizing what you already have. Number 3, about people who have a half-empty perspective. People who see the glass as half empty see it as a liability instead of an asset. They're looking at the emptiness, this part right here, the emptiness. And so they say, this is a liability, I don't want it. I don't need this liability. That's what they're looking at. And they say, this is a liability. They don't see the asset, they see a liability. Are you viewing life in the same way? Are you viewing your life and looking at the lack, looking at the liabilities, looking at the negatives, and summing up your life from that perspective? Think about that for a moment. Number 4, people who view the glass as half empty tend to be negative in life. They're always talking about how things are going wrong. They're always talking about how the world is so bad. They're always talking about all the negative news. They can update you on everything negative going on in their world. And if you listen to them, if you allow them into your life, they will start to drain you and pull you down. You don't need to go that direction. You need to have a different perspective altogether. So you need to do a self-analysis and ask yourself, are you negative in life? Is everything you talk about? Have you talked with folks or people that anytime you say something good, they look for something negative to talk about? They'll always see a negative aspect. They'll say, but this. They'll always point out what is wrong, what is not working. If you find yourself in that place, I want you to realize, my friend, that is a negative perspective. And guess what? You keep investing in negative, that's exactly what you'll get. That is the output you will get. You invest in negative, you get negative. Now listen to this, number 5. People who see the glass as half empty perceive the person who served them as being mean, stingy, and uncaring. They say, oh my goodness, why would they give me half a glass of milk or half a glass of juice? They are so mean. That's a perception that they have. That's a perspective that they have. They will look at these people as being mean, as being stingy. But remember, it's all about perspective. It's not that that person is mean. It's not that that other person has changed. I've found, hey, listen to this. I've found people who move from one job to another because they lack that sense of seeing the positive side. They dwell on the negative. Number 7, people who view the glass as half empty assume that they would be successful in life if only the glass is full. They say, if only I had this, I'll be successful. If only I grew up in this family, or I had these assets, I had these resources, then I will be successful. But here, let me tell you this, in this section that we'll talk about how full perspective people, how they respond. And these are people who are successful in life. I'll give you 7 things, what you need to know about the half-full perspective. Number 1, successful people never drink from a glass that is half empty. What that simply means is that they always view the glass as half full. So you serve this glass to them, they're looking at it, they don't see the empty part, they see the glass as half full. That's why they're successful. They focus, number 2, the successful people, they focus on what they have. And I want to challenge you that I want you to focus on what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have, because you can do nothing about what you don't have, but focus on what you have. In fact, the successful people, they view what they have as all they need. That's all they need to be successful. I will use what they have. They maximize what they have because they know that's all I need. Number 3 is that successful people appreciate what they have. When you see the glass is half full, you appreciate it. You treat it with great value. You use it well. Number 4, successful people see the glass half full as an asset and not a liability. They start saying, wow, what can I do with this? Wow, this is a great asset. When you value something, you use it to the max. They say this is an asset. This is a rare opportunity. They maximize that small door, that small opportunity that they have. They use it to the fullest. Which leads me to the 5th point. Successful people see the potential of the half full glass. They see this is potential right here. Here's the thing. Every one of us, we have different gifts. We have assets that we have. You have your education, you have different things, you have skills that you acquired along the way. You need to see that everything you have has great potential. You need to perceive and see the potential of what you have and begin to put it to work. All right? They see that, which leads me to the next thing. They see opportunities in a glass that is half full. That is number 6. That's what successful people do. They look at the opportunity. Where you're at right now, there's so many opportunities where you're at right now. Believe it or not, somebody once said that opportunities are never lost. Opportunities are never lost because the opportunity that you missed, guess what? Somebody else picked it. The opportunity that you turn down, somebody else will take it. In life, you'll always find people who are less talented than you are, who had less opportunities than you have, who will be more successful than you. That is just a fact. But guess what? You too, if you put to work what you have, if you look at things from a different perspective, you can maximize what you have and be more successful than people who had an added advantage over you. Number 7, which is the final point, is that people who see the glass as half full perceive the person who served them as loving, caring, and considerate. They say, wow, this person was so considerate that they could share the drink that they have, that they could share what they have, that they serve me. They see love. They see sacrifice. They see things. They start seeing people as valuable people, people that they can work with and engage in. Now, here's what I would like to conclude in this message of perspective. I want you to know that in life, the glass is never full. Many people wait for the glass to be full in order to maximize opportunities. Many people wait and say, when my glass gets full, then I will make something of my life. When my glass gets full, when I get the ideal job that I have in mind, that I studied so hard for this degree, when I get this big opportunity, then I will make something of my life. Dear friends, work with what you have. It is by taking the little that you have and seeing the potential that you begin to work on it, and it will grow and blossom and take you to another whole new level. I want to challenge you to think about how you can change your perspective by getting new information. I want to conclude with this illustration. It is said that a goldfish, if you put it in a jar, the bigger the jar, the bigger it grows. If you limit it to a small jar, it remains a small size. That's what they say. You see, for your vision to grow, you have to broaden your perspective. For you to see things in a whole new dimension, you have to broaden your knowledge and information so that you may gain a whole new perspective. See, Scripture says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. In other words, lack of information. Let me ask you one more time. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself going? I want to challenge you to align yourself with people who've gone ahead of you. Sit down, talk with them. Let them give you a whole new perspective. Anytime you deal with a problem in life, rather than focusing on why you cannot do it, look for ways on how you can achieve it. Rather than looking at how tall and how high is your mountain, look for the gear that you need to take to use to climb this mountain. You see, it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of perspective. The challenges that you see in life, there are people who've conquered those mountains, and you can be one of them. You need to have a different perspective, my friend. So I hope this will help you, that you will take time and ask yourself, do I see my life as half empty or half full? If you've been seeing half empty, you've been missing on all these resources that you have. Work with this, and you will see God do great things in your life. Work with this, and you will see you scale mountains and overcome challenges and issues in life, because it is possible for you to succeed. It's a matter of having a different kind of perspective. So I hope I've given you something to think about, and this information will broaden your perspective and in return broaden your vision in life. When you have a different perspective, you will do things differently and achieve different results. I know that there is greatness in you, and I wish you all the best. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye.